Hey guys, so today I want to go through and talk about a little bit of my experiences with the Airsoft replicas and engines I've used so far and how to achieve some of the best kind of accuracy. So when it comes to barrel length is a commonly asked question. Should I go for a longer barrel for a longer range? Well, yes and no. Barrels give you more of a consistency than range. You get more of a range from your hop up, BBs, and power. That's how far you can fling the BB, and the hop up allows it to spin backwards and continuously maintaining a flat trajectory or semi-flat trajectory before you start losing and it starts dipping off like a rainbow, starts arcing down. Um, Barrels help you go through. If you have a tight bore barrel, allows you to keep more air inside of your barrel behind the BB, giving you a higher FPS boost. But having a good quality barrel with no like bumps, scratches, that's why you don't fire dirty BBs because it'll scratch your barrel up, allows you to make sure every BB follows exact same trajectory to the best of its ability, not including wind or other foliage you may hit along the way. So while barrels are great, uh, a pistol, a little high kappa, can shoot just as far as like an M4 as long as it has a good barrel and good hop-up system. For example, my MTW, this is the Wolverine Inferno Gen 2 with a 7-inch barrel. It shoots just as far as my 14-inch other variants. I even have 18-inch Tipman. It shoots just as far because it has a good hop-up system and a good quality barrel. It doesn't matter about the length of it too much. Now, also when it gets to volume is another issue. Some engines don't volume as well as others, like the Tipman over volume, so it sends a lot more air out the barrel, meaning that you can shoot heavier BBs. Voluming is how much air is in the barrel. So with a lot of engines, you can adjust how much voluming it comes out of it. The Kythera, you cannot, unfortunately, adjust the voluming that I know of, but a Reaper or an Inferno, you can adjust the dwell, like on most Polar Stars as well, most Polar Star F2s, and the Jack, the Jack, F1s, you can adjust the voluming to match your barrel. So with a short barrel, I don't have to have as much voluming to make sure the actual BB gets out the barrel because it's a short barrel. But because it's a short barrel, it means I have to have more PSI to get it to a fast speed versus having a longer barrel. So there's like a type of barrel, like a lengthwise, like the perfect kind of length. So 14 and 10-inch barrels, in my opinion, are the gold mine. It's where the sweet spot is. You want to go through and kind of stick in that range. If you go to an 18-inch barrel, you may have to have more PSI and more dwell to make sure that BB does not lose speed in the barrel. So it's a dance you have to play whenever you're figuring it out. So it also depends on what type of setup you're trying to do. If you're trying to do like a speed soft kind of indoor, not really shooting long range, then you don't have to have a super long barrel. You can use a short barrel. Shorter barrels also means you can go through and clear rooms easier with quicker than if you had a long 18-inch barrel, because just 7 inches versus 18 inches mean you have to go further around the corner. I mean, after all, practice makes perfect. So talking about how the actual engine itself functions, so that determines a lot of how you can play. So a Kythera is a closed bolt system. It is a completely true closed bolt system. No batteries required. Literally, you drop it and you go. What does a closed bolt system mean? It means that the bolt, it's always closed into the hop up, meaning you cannot load a BB into it unless you fire the trigger, pull the trigger, and it causes the system to shoot. Whenever it shoots, bolt pulls back, the BB goes up, and it reloads. Now you have a BB loaded into it, ready to fire the next time. A Wolverine Inferno is a open bolt hybrid. A open bolt hybrid means that it's open whenever you have air plugged into the actual lines, so it opens up, so maybe it always loads up into it, even if you drop your magazine and reload your mags. If you be pushed up into the chamber, whenever you pull the trigger, thump, it fires it, goes forward, reloads. But the hybrid part comes in whenever you disconnect your airline, then the actual system becomes a closed bolt. The bolt springs forward, and it shuts itself. That way you can go through if you're working on like a AG body where you have to do alignment and make sure it's shooting center of the hop up. You can see it easier. It's like the best of both worlds. But then there are systems like the Polar Star F1 and the Polar Star Jack. They are open bolt completely. They are not a closed bolt hybrid or like a hybrid system. they are always open bolt. So it only ever closes whenever you pull that trigger for that split second, it fires, and then it goes back to open bolt. It just means you have to be able a little more tricky whenever trying to make those adjustments to make sure that it is aligned correctly in a body. But if you go through, you have good quality body that doesn't have to have a lot of alignment issues, you don't have to worry about that. But these are little small things you have to keep in mind whenever you're going through and choosing what system you want to get. That's why I always like to go with a Wolverine Inferno. You won't be able to fire as quickly as if you were to go through and fire a Polar Star. But having the option to be a closed bolt hybrid is amazing. That way you can go through and do alignments and fix the alignment if that ever is an issue. And I like to always have my bases covered. So hop-ups. There are different types of hop-ups out there. I always like to go with the Pro-Am if I'm trying to go for a mediocre option. But if I'm trying to go for like a long-range build, I love Max CNC hop-ups just because you have the option for like flat hop. You have all these different like normal hop-ups, like a normal nub. It has these arms in the actual box you can just swap out and change on the fly, especially if you're pairing it with like a Orca barrel. Some Orca barrels have porting on the actual sides to rotate the bucking, so you don't actually have to go through and modify the bucking. You can just rotate it, put it on, and you don't have the nub to deal with. There are a lot of different options out there, and if you're crafty and techy and you want to have fun, go through and modify the bucking yourself and use a max hop up and throw it together. There are lots of options out there for you, but that's what I prefer. There are some other options, but typically when you're going through an HPA gun, they always say keep everything you can stock. That way when you make micro changes, you change a bucking, you change a nub, you change a hop up, you change a barrel, you see if it's a positive or a negative effect on your performance. If you go through and you change everything at once, you might not know what messed up and what you have to change. So if you go through, you were shooting at a stock AG, it was doing fine, you put a whole bunch of new HPA stuff into it, you get a shoot and you're like, whoa, it's not doing good. Now you have to go through and figure out what went wrong. And that's where the issue comes in. So like I said, take your time, build it piece by piece. And even if you have to go through, if you buy all the parts out at once, and you just put in one part at a time, take it out for a weekend. Then next weekend, put a new part in that you already had, that you already bought. Slowly building it up over 3 or 4 weeks. Eventually you'll have your gun completely converted over, and you'll know what worked and what didn't work. And who knows, maybe you'll get lucky, or you won't have to deal with any of this kind of stuff. But in my past, I have dealt with changing everything over really quickly and not realizing what went wrong, and then just giving up the whole build. So I hope this helped out, guys, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.